Here we have a beautiful Franciscan monastery for sale. The structure is solid and it is a great investment in a piece of history and a work of art, which can be turned into a high-end spiritual and peaceful resort or spa. The location as well as the price are very attractive. The monastery is attached to a church. However, the church itself is not for sale, but it can be used for certain activities like weddings and religious ceremonies. The Monastery of San Rocco is located in Farnese, a charming medieval town in the area of Viterbo, close to the lake of Bolsena, Maremma, and close to the Tuscan coast. The monastery, much like most of the area, is closely tied to the famous family of Farnese, to the monks who populated the area from 1560, and more importantly, the Dort crucifix sculpture designed by the devoted Vincenzo da Bassiano, housed in the church adjacent to the monastery. The construction of the monastery of San Rocco was started in 1617, thanks to the Duke Mario Farnese. Unfortunately, the project took much longer due to his death. 2 years after the start, the project was passed on to his son, the Duke of Laterra, which allowed the monks to take over the construction. At the time, given that the Duke was in financial trouble, the monks had to finance the construction by proactively asking for donations, literally begging, that is. In fact, the church and the monastery were finished very much later, and then consecrated more than a century later, the 21st June of 1733. The monastery is well situated on the lush rolling hills of the Tuscia area. The building is well integrated between its parts, giving it a convincing linearity, resulting in an elegant and solid structure. The total area of the monastery is 1,745 square meters. In addition, there is 15,000 square meters of agricultural land, entirely fenced in, with access from the road as well as from the monastery itself. The surrounding flora is varied and at the same time homogeneous, which gives the monastery a magnificent aura of sanctity and peace. The structure of the monastery is divided into 2 floors. The ground floor, which is developed around the spacious cloister, with its well-designed arches made of local rock, and the walls entirely covered with frescoes of the stories of St. Francisco de Assisi and St. Antonio of Padua. The ground floor has both inhabitable and uninhabitable rooms, like the refectory, where the monks had their meals, kitchen opening into the garden, storage rooms, and a large cellar. The first floor, with its magnificent views of the city and the valley, is entirely inhabitable and consists of rooms and study areas where the Franciscan monks used to gather. All in all, there are more than 40 rooms in the building. In addition, there's an internal walkway which ties right into the church. Now, a little bit about Farnese and its surrounding areas. The gracious town of Farnese, situated in the Viterbo Tuscia area, is typically a medieval town that was founded on a solid rock at 343 meters from the sea level, on the western side of Bolsena Lake, next to the Toscana, and very close to the Tirrenica coast. The weather is relatively cool in the summer and mild in the winter. The total area of Farnese consists of 53 square kilometers with a population of 1,684 called Farnesani. Cereals, dairy, delicious olive oil, wool are the typical local products. From a naturalistic perspective, the territory is absolutely charming, and the most beautiful part about it is a natural reserve called Selva di Lamone that is part of a protected area of Lazio extending over 1,800 acres. The Selva of Lamone became famous because it was the shelter for the bandits of Maremma until the beginning of the 20th century. One of the most famous bandits was Tiburzi, who became a myth among the population of the area for his initiatives and activities as a rebel. There are many paths in the reserve that will take you to old Etruscan and Roman settlements, and at the same time one can enjoy the natural scenery and beauty of the valley. Not very far from Farnese, we can discover the mythical ruins of Castro, which was destroyed by an invidious pope. Castro was also part of the Farnese family. In Farnese you will also find the actual setting for the film Pinocchio by the director Comencini, where you can find the original house of the woodsmith which created Pinocchio. And you will find the setting right next to the monastery. As we may have mentioned before, it is possible to visit Farnese's local economy, which is comprised of a complete tour of artisan producers, such as agricultural and animal farms, dairy farms, oil mills, bee farms, and private vineyards. In respect to the church itself, it is still possible to notice from the external part of the rear of the building the boundary walls of the original temple dedicated to San Magno, bishop and martyr, of whom Fernando Farnese wrote his life story in 1595. The church consists of a unique chorus made of walnut wood and two chapels dedicated to San Francesco and San Antonio. On the high altar, we can notice the devoted image of Jesus Christ on the crucifix, sculptured by the monk Vincenzo da Bassiano in 1684. This crucifix has been venerated for ages by the people of Farnese and its neighbors, and until today this famous image of our Lord has captured and inspired the faith of thousands of believers, even that in 1984 in Farnese celebrations and processions took place to honor the third centennial of the creation of the sacred sculpture. Let's not forget, the wooden crucifix kept in San Rocco represents a devout monk's work of art, deeply inspired by the strong image of the cross and the Passion of Christ. In addition, as a gift, this monk gave other important and similar sculptures, which are placed in several churches in the region of Lazio in the cities of Nemi, Caprarola, and Bassiano, in which thousands of believers adore. For the religious traveler who loves and looks for sacred art and beauty, we look forward for them to stopping Farnese to see the San Rocco Church so as to admire the sculpture full of emotional force. We are Immobiliare Tuscia Real Estate Agency in Farnese. We hope you have enjoyed this video.